So now that we know how to solve a problem by factoring, and we already know how to complete the square to find a vertex, we are going to be doing a couple of word problems. The method of solving these is going to be different depending on what the question is asking. So you are going to need to look for some keywords. So I will be talking to you during this lesson about what those keywords are going to look like. So we're going to just jump right into this. So section 3.5, solving problems involving quadratic functions. Example 1, a computer software company models the profit of its latest video game using the function p of x is equal to negative 2x squared plus 32x minus 110, where x is the number of games in thousands and p of x is the profit in millions. The question asks, what is the company's break-even point? So if you don't know what a break-even point is, I guess that's important to note. You are going to be seeing this a fair amount in this chapter. So a break-even point is when the company makes no money and loses no money. So their profit is 0. So we're asking, what is the company's break-even point? And they're also asking, what is the maximum profit that the company can earn? What is the most money that they can make? So we need to do a couple of things here. We're going to focus on this first question. What is the company's break-even point? If we are asking that, if we're saying the profit is 0, we know that we can take that 0 and sub it in for the p of x. So basically, what we're trying to solve is equal to negative 2x squared plus 32x minus 110. Now, we know that we need to start factoring this. This is easy to factor, I guess, in a sense. We're easy to start factoring. We are going to common factor out a negative 2x squared minus 16x plus 55. So what we need to do is we need to find two numbers that multiply to 55, and those same two numbers need to add to negative 16. Now, two numbers that multiply to 55, 11 and 5. Now, 11 and 5 add to positive 16. That means that right from the beginning, I'm looking at a negative 11 and a negative 5. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put these in. It is simple, so I do just get to write x minus 11 and x minus 5. Now, from here, I know that I can easily solve. X is equal to 11 and x is equal to 5. Now, this means, therefore, my break-even points are at 5,000. Now remember, each one was in thousands, so 5,000 games and 11,000 games. Now, moving on to the second part of the question. The second part of the question said, what is the maximum profit that the company can earn? So I've went ahead and I just rewrote the equation for you. Also, we can remember that our break-even points were x equals 5 and x equals 11. Now, we have a couple of options here. Option 1, you can take the equation and you can complete the square. Now, we know that if we complete this square, what we're finding is the vertex, or the maximum, okay? That will give us the answer that we need. What we could also do is we could remember that if I have a graph, and I know that this is a really bad drawing. Let me backtrack here for a second. I have a parabola going on here. And I know that it's down or sad because it is a negative out front. and I know that I have one root at 5 and one root at 11. Okay, so I know that my parabola is looking like this. Now, what I also know is that we know because of symmetry, the maximum must be in the middle. So if I'm trying to find the maximum, what I can do is I can say 5 plus 11 divided by 2. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. I know that at 8,000 games, my company will reach its maximum profit. So this is important information. Now, my maximum profit is not 8. We just know that it happens at 8,000 games. So what I can now do is I can find P of 8. I can plug 8 into my profit equation above and I can solve. So negative 2 times 8 squared plus 32 times 8 minus 110. Now, if I go ahead and I solve that on a calculator, I'm going to get 18. That means that the company's maximum profit is 18 million. Because again, if you go back to that beginning part of the question, it said that profit is in millions of dollars. All right, so moving on to example 2, the president of a company that manufactures toy cars thinks that the function P of C is equal to negative 2C squared plus 14C minus 20 represents the company's profit, where C is the number of cars produced in thousands and P of C is the company's profit in hundreds of thousands of dollars. Determine the maximum profit the company can earn and the break-even points. So again, this question is exactly like the last question. There are multiple ways to do this. Table of values, probably a bad idea because of decimals. Determining the maximum, we can definitely complete the square. The only problem with that is that once we do that, we are still finding the break-even points, which will probably be done by factoring. So we might as well just start with the factoring. So I'm going to rewrite my function. P of C is equal to negative 2C squared plus 14C minus 20. Now if I want to factor this, I am going to common factor, so I can take a negative 2 out. Negative 7C plus 10. Now, I'm going to go ahead and factor this. Now, I know that I need to find two numbers that multiply to 10, and those same two numbers need to add to negative 7. 5 and 2 multiply to 10. And if I need it to add to negative 7, I know that they just both need to be negative. So, I'm going to continue moving on with this. Negative 2, since it is simple, I can just do C minus 5 and C minus 2 from those numbers I found over here. If I want to go ahead and solve this, I know that C is equal to 5 or C is equal to 2. Now, what this means is that the company is going to break even at, now, C was in, look back at the question, thousands of cars. So we have 5,000 cars and 2,000 cars. Now, thinking about this in a diagram, basically I know that I have this profit, okay? It is negative because my A value is negative. I know that at 2,000 cars and at 5,000 cars, I'm not making money and I'm not losing money. Now I know that everywhere in between there, I am making money. So if I make less than 2,000 cars, I am losing money. And if I make more than 5,000 cars, I am losing money. That probably seems strange to you, but if you think about a factory, if you need to ramp up your production, you are going to have to expand or hire more people. And then at that point, they're not making enough money to pay their salaries or pay the rent or whatever it is that they need to do. So this is a very good real life example. They definitely use these in every single company. And so if you ever get into business, you will see examples that look just like this. Now, if we're going to answer the rest of the question, I am going to go to the next page, but if we're going to find the maximum profit, we know that we're trying to find this point right here. We know that if this point is 2,000 and this point is 5,000, then the maximum must be right in the middle. So just from the last slide, here's my equation. Here are my two solutions, my break-even points, C of 2 and C of 5. Now, I already talked to you about how the break-even point is at the edge and the maximum revenue will be in the center. So what I can do is I can say 2 plus 5 divided by 2 is where I need to be for my maximum. So 7 divided by 2, I know that my maximum is going to be at 3.5. Now again, it's not 3.5 cars, it's 3.5 thousand. So in other words, 3,500 cars will produce my maximum. I need to plug that back into my equation. Now the reason I used 3.5 here and not 2,000 plus 5,000 divided by 2 is because I don't want you to make a very common mistake. I don't want you to be plugging 3,500 in for C in my original equation. I do need you to use the 3.5. So I'm going to do profit for 3.5 thousand cars is equal to negative 2 times 3.5 squared plus 14 times 3.5 minus 20. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that on my calculator, and I'm going to get 4.5. You can go ahead and you can try that. Now if I look back at my question, so you're going to have to look back in your notes. It did say that the profit is in hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this 4.5 really means $450,000. So therefore, my max profit is $450,000.